have got our special guest with us. We are so honored.
This is royalty.
You know, there's a problem. You know, you get to a certain age, I'm sure you're sick of hearing this, is that people go, he's legendary.
Yeah.
He's this in this case, it
really is.
It's
It's none of that bullshit with the kids.
No, it's not at all. This is
King Lear.
I can get,
Yes.
at this age, I get a standing ovation just by getting out of a chair.
And it's true. It's true. Norman Lear is here. He defined television in the 70s and beyond. In fact, all the TV shows that you see today are a direct result, descendant
100%.
of the shows that he created. Now, Norman Lear, do you watch television today?
I never did watch a lot of television. Largely in the years I was making the shows, I was working every night.
Yeah.
So, but I'm convinced this is the golden age because twice a week at the least, some good friend is saying, "You mean you're not watching?" And they mention something I watch, and it's terrific.
Yeah. Because they do say this is now the golden age. This is the second golden age. When was the first golden age of television?
First golden age is when I came into television, and the Playhouse 90, if you remember that title, was on CBS was a major thing.
Was that Philco? Chrysler had Playhouse 90. Who was the sponsor of Playhouse 90?
I think you mentioned one, Chrysler. I think Ford sponsored it. An insurance company sponsored it.
Yeah. Well, today it's interesting because so many people watch television now. Was there a lull after the 70s, that big Norman Lear 70s period, where there was
a lull for me.
Well, there was a social consciousness attached to your shows. They were they were moving us socially. But in the 80s, something changed to where there wasn't a conclusion to. They bring up a situation, but they wouldn't really resolve it. Why do you think that was? What changed?
I don't know. I know where we were coming from. I grew up paying a lot of attention to. I had to. My father went to prison when I was 9 years old. My mother sold everything we had so that she could stay well and not in the same place where my father went to prison.
Yeah. What did he go to prison for?
He tried to sell some fake bonds. And.
In New Haven? You're from New Haven, Connecticut?
I was born in New Haven, raised largely in Hartford, and some in New York and some in Revere, Mass., and we moved around a lot.
Yeah. And you were born in 1922?
1922.
That's outrageous.
Yeah. You're going to live to you're 150 years old. There's no slowing down.
Well, from your mouth to her ears.
Yeah.
Because smart man.
That would make you a lot of numbers.
That would make me 94. I heard
you have a birthday next month, July.
Next month, I got a call this morning from one of my 3 older daughters in New York who said she and her family are coming out for my birthday.
Oh,
wow.
On the 27th of July. You're all welcome. Everybody who's listening now is welcome to my home. As a matter of fact, I'm getting a larger bed so we can all
yes.
So what's it like having experienced this world for that long? What could you tell us about being 95, almost 95, that we don't know about?
Well, even though you are talking about my age, and I am fessing up to that age, the fact is you're not at this particular moment understanding that it took you every split second of your life to get here to talk to me. And Michelle, every split second of your life. But every. And I just said every. It was 2 seconds before I'm saying what I'm saying now. Yeah. And look, together we spent this part of our lives together.
So it's really about only this moment right here. All roads lead to this moment.
Well, if there was a hammock between the words over and next, that would be what I think of when I think of living in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
amazing.
If it takes every bloody second of your life to get someplace, make the best of it. How
Make the
can you
best
do
of it.
otherwise?
Yeah. Do you have regrets about certain things that you time you spent focused on something that ultimately didn't matter?
Regret? No, I don't live well with regret. And, when I'm asked that question and I'm answering it, I'm raking my mind to see, and my soul really, to see how much I really mean it. Is there nothing I regret? I wish I knew my father better.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I understood him better. But regret is too big. No, I don't live well with regret.
How many years? How much time did he spend in the pokey?
3 years.
3 years. Did you continue the relationship after he got out?
Oh yeah, but this is who my dad was in a nutshell. And one short story. Having just got out of prison, I meet him. And my mother and sister, I don't remember where they were coming from, but they were all on the New York, New Haven, Hartford Railroad. We were going into New York. They picked me up in New Haven, where I had been living with my grandparents. And what we were going to was an apartment that friends had of my folks. They had 2 kids in a small apartment. We were 2 kids and another couple joining them in that small apartment. Those were as my father got out of prison, we were going to live together until he found a job. That was his situation. On the train from New Haven to New York, we're sitting together for a little while, and he said to me, "Well, Norman, you're going to be bar mitzvah next year. For your bar mitzvah, I'm going to take you and your mother and your sister for a trip around the world. We'll be gone a year." Now, that's who he was. And he was going to have $1 million in 10 days to 2 weeks tops.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And how did that his philosophy rub off on your career and what you ultimately did in your career?
Well, it certainly rubbed off on it shined my sense of the foolishness of the human condition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how old I was when I realized, my God, in that situation, he's going to take us in a year for a trip around the world.
Yeah.
But he was, in Arthur Miller's words, he went out with a smile and a shoe shine every day.
Wow.
He lied, he cheated, he stole.
Yeah.
And the word I found I enjoy using most to describe him is rascal.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't really want to go further than rascal.
Yeah. And did your parents stay together after he got out?
Yes. Oh, yeah, they were together.
They did.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, your life as a writer and as a storyteller, I mean, isn't that kind of what a rascal... It's kind of the same thing, You're sort of spinning tales of stories. Isn't it kind of the same thing?
No, I mean I can play it a rascal. But I'm not a rascal. A rascal is the kind where a rascal is a guy who's trying to get away with something all the time. Uh-huh. He's a rascal.
Yeah.
Where do you think you got for lack of a better term, balls to tell the stories that you did when you did it?
I don't know. I don't think it took balls. It took alertness. It took interest. It took seeing. There wasn't any subject we dealt with that wasn't occurring up the street or down the street or across the street with some family we knew, or in the newspapers.
Right, right.
We sat around a table, 6, 7 of us, maybe 5, 6, 7 writers and a director and so forth, and we all read a couple, 3 papers a day, so we were all up to speed. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes in one day and says they were interested in this article that the hypertension in black males was escalating. Mm-hmm. Well, we were doing Good Times. One of them was a writer on Good Times. So that would make a great story for John. Mm-hmm. And that's where we would get our stories from.
John Amos was the lead actor in Good Times.
Times.
We're talking Good Times. All in the Family, Maude,
Jeffersons.
the Jeffersons. It just goes on and on. Mary Hartman.
Yes!
It goes on. One show I remember watching at home, which only got, I think, one season, was Hot L Baltimore.
I loved Hot L Baltimore.
It was amazing.
The listeners should know that Hot L Baltimore was Hotel Baltimore, but the E had fallen out.
Yes.
Oh my God,
I think
I
of
love
that show all the time because even I was 14 at the time. It was very groundbreaking, and it was a precursor to what was to come. You've lived long enough to see Patty Chayefsky's network come to life, and we've actually gone beyond what he prophesized in the network. Are you surprised at where television is today? Because Hot L Baltimore was out there for that time.
What about Fernwood Tonight?
Well, Fernwood Tonight,
Which was-
absolutely.
Yes. Genius.
Yes.
Genius.
I love Fernwood Tonight, too, because of the two guys. I mean, the casting.
Brilliant. Martin Mull, Fred Wood.
Yes. Are you surprised at where television is today? The things that you hear about or see on television?
Well, I see wonderful things. I love Blackish. I love what's her name, Jenny and Genji.
Gigi Cohn.
Yes,
her work
Weeds
and Jill Soloway.
Yes.
Transparent.
God, the
yes.
writing Transparent is fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
And as I said, somebody I respect is saying to me a couple of times a week, "Are you not watching?" And then I'll watch an episode and agree totally. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then there's so much I'm overwhelmed with it.
Right. And then the idea, I know that you you're up against the networks a lot of times. Now, because of Amazon.com or Amazon and Prime and Netflix, that whole...
I'm on Netflix right now with a new show.
That's right, one day at a time. Yes.
Picked up for a second season, working on that now.
So having done One Day at a Time at CBS the first time,
Originally,
and then now doing it at Netflix, what's the difference? Are the suits upstairs more relaxed?
Well, the big difference from a creative standpoint is the difficulty in being as topical or as present as one would wish to be. Mm-hmm. Because we make 13, and then sometime later they're put on the air. They are all put on the air at the same time. And what's the word? Streaming. They're streamed. Yeah. And it's perfectly wonderful, but it isn't like doing a show
and then airing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But because there are no advertisers on Netflix, is the pressure off to stay away from things that are taboo?
Because we dealt with taboo earlier, and because I didn't think many things should be or would be or were taboo, it's pretty much the same now.
Mm-hmm. But
in terms of our shows.
The difference is you are the one who opened everything that was taboo or should be in somebody's mind today has been dealt with because of one of your shows. And you dealt with it in a time where the political climate wasn't ready for it. I mean, you'd see these people complaining about your work on Phil Donahue or any of these talk shows back then. Simple stuff that now is like you would never even think twice. But back then, All in the Family, to me, is the number one sitcom ever. And I've talked about this. Remember, we've talked about our favorite.
Yeah.
Number one sitcom of all time for me. Changed my life. And I remember being a child and watching it and knowing that this wasn't stuff that you talked about. And I grew up in a very liberal Jewish family. But you grew up not thinking, nobody talks about this around the kitchen table.
Right.
But in reality, it was happening to everybody.
That's a problem. All these years later, that's for me, one of the great problems in our culture. We're not open to talking about our problems the way we should be.
Yes.
And learning from it. And we send people to D.C., to the Hill, we have that expression, where ostensibly they have the view. They're on the Hill. But they keep coming back to us to poll us to find out how we're feeling instead of telling us, look, you may not think this direction is the right direction, but I'm on the Hill. I think so.
Right.
And in a sense, we all lack parents that way, which we need in D.C. on the Hill.
So,
But I have 1,000 questions for you guys. Why are we only talking about me?
well, because you have, I want what you have. I
Yes.
want to know how you've been able to sustain yourself in this business. You've seen people come and go and come and go, but you are still here. That's what's so fascinating about someone who could tell the stories, a rascal who could tell the stories, and then still have a smile on your face about it, there's so many things I want to cover. We're going to take a real quick break right here, but when we come back with Norman Lear, I want to talk about Sanford & Son. I want to talk about the organization he started to
And I want to talk about RuPaul that I met this morning for the first time in my life, and a check suit.
Yes,
pants
this
and
is a
jacket that
calico
he's wearing,
suit. Yes,
and
yes.
a shirt underneath it with some remarkable material. I mean, the man is gorgeous.
It is.
I love it. We're going to be right back with Norman Lear. Hey, Michelle, are you looking to spice some things up in the bedroom?
Well, it's been 20 years.
You do. You really have to spice it up after so long.
Hello? That's the key to a happy marriage, a relationship.
You're absolutely right. Enter Adam and Eve. That's how you spice it up. A new toy, an adult movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You're no stranger to Adam and Eve.
No, I'm not, Ruth. Thank you. But like I said, after all that time, a lot of people are self-conscious and they think, well, I can't. Trust me. The minute you do and you introduce this, your love life, your sex life is going to go to another level.
That's right. AdamandEve.com is your one-stop shopping location. They have everything you need. In fact, if things get a little bit stale, why not wear a mask?
Okay.
Wear a mask.
All right, eyes wide shut.
Yes, baby.
Or eyes wide open.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's all about whatever your heart's desire. Use your imagination. Go to AdamandEve.com, and for a limited time only, you get 50% off just about any item.
But that's not all. Oh, no, honey. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive a free mystery gift.
I think I can guess what that is.
What's it going to be?
I'm not going to say.
But
It's a
tell me.
mystery.
Oh, my gosh. We are not kidding, you guys. They're even going to throw in free shipping on your entire order. And I have to tell you, they have sent us some spicy stuff.
Oh, honey.
Yes.
I can't even show this to my mailman.
One for every orify on our body. Check out AdamandEve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type the code what?
Are you?
Yeah.
We are back with Norman Lear. Go and have a sip of your coffee.
You know
there.
I'm
what?
having a sip of my
Ruin
coffee.
Norman, there's only one man I've trusted my entire life.
And who's that?
That man is B. Arthur. And it was because of Norman Lear.
Did you say that man was B. Arthur?
Now, the chronological order, it was All in the Family. All in the Family begat Maude. And then
Jeffersons.
Wait a minute. So, Good Time. What was her name? Thelma?
Esther
Thelma?
Roll.
Esther Roll was the maid on Maude. Right,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that's how Good Times happened,
And then
the Jeffersons. How did
didn't the Jeffersons come from Maud or something came from Maud?
The Jeffersons
Yes.
came.
The Jeffersons-
The Jeffersons came from All in the Family. They were the family that moved next
That's
door.
right.
All right.
That's
Well, what
right.
came
And
from
Esther
Maud?
Roll was the maid on Maude, and so Good Times came from.
Good Times came from Maud.
Right. And of course, Sanford & Son was before that. We didn't have a television at the time. And this was such big news to have Red Fox have a television show that my mother, we would walk around the block to some friends who had a television.
To
And we
watch.
would watch it every week because my mother loved Red Fox. My mother, of course, knew Red Fox from the Chitlin circuit, the blue comedy circuit.
Yeah.
He was known for
He was
blue
foul-mouthed.
humor.
He was
foul-mouthed.
as foul-mouthed as could be.
But
He is a clown, a real true clown, which meant for me that his earlobes were funny, his knuckles were funny.
Yeah.
He could walk into a room and tell you something terrible happened and have you laugh.
I loved him so much. In fact, he brought all of the people from that circuit onto the show. Did he? Did he have to talk everyone into bringing Skillet and Leroy and LaWanda Page and all of those people?
It talked us into all that talent? No.
Really?
He didn't have to talk anybody into
Because they
bringing
weren't
talent
known
on.
for television before. They weren't,
Well, either was he. But
Right.
that's what it was all about. Either was Esther Roll or Sherman Hemsley or B. Arthur herself.
Yeah. Because B. Arthur had done the movie with Lucille Ball. She had done the Mame,
Yeah.
but I'd never heard of her before that. Amazing. Now, so we hit on some of the shows. Of course, Mary Hartman, which I think was that 76? I don't remember.
So I think closer to 73.
Was it?
I'm not.
Yeah.
But you use your Google.
You want me to Google it?
Yeah. But talk about groundbreaking. It came on every night, five nights a week.
Well, in reruns, we made it once a week for years.
You're
only
kidding.
Once a week.
I thought it was on once a night. I thought it was like a soap opera that was on once a night.
Mary Hartman
76.
was on every night.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It was on. Yeah,
you're talking about Mary Hartman?
Yes.
Yes, every night it was
76
a
to
soap opera.
77.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just out.
Louise Lasser was just brilliant.
Such a groundbreaking show. I don't even know if people are ready for it even today.
First of all, I remember the first time watching it going, I was a kid, and I remember watching it going, I don't get this. My mother loved it, and she loved Maude, so she would watch all the Norman Lear programs, and she would come back, and that would be on. I would try to get it, and then as time grew on, and I'd come back and repeats. You get it.
Yeah.
You really get it.
Why was B. Arthur cast in that role? She's a Broadway theater actress.
She was a good friend. I love the question because I love thinking about the answer. I knew growing up in my family that if you wanted to slug somebody, as we wanted somebody to in an episode to slug Archie Bunker, there was nothing like some relative who had it in for you for a lot of years, who remembered that you didn't invite Gert to the wedding 23 years ago. So Edith was unwell. She needed some help, and her great friend and cousin came to visit her. Her friend and cousin, who hated Archie when she met him, didn't want them to get married, and was carrying this grudge through the years. As somebody who knew B. Arthur well from Broadway and as a friend, I brought her out to play that role.
I see.
She played Maude. I forget her last name in that role.
Maude Finley.
Well, no, Finley was, when we did the show, she was married, but at the time she was something. But she was Maude, and she came in and she reached from the ground and slugged Archie like few could.
What now? Were you involved with her show after that called Something by the Bay? What was it?
No, she did. Whatchamacallit Girls.
No,
Golden Girls.
no. Between Golden Girls and Maude, she had something called, was it Madeline by the Bay, or she had a show?
Had nothing to do with it.
No. What other?
So I mentioned your suit, which we haven't talked about. It's a gorgeous checkered suit, pants and jacket.
Yeah.
And this is a great tall 6'3" or 4".
6'4". Yeah.
Slender, beautiful guy here.
Thank you so much.
And the shirt would appear to be silkish.
Well, it's a polished cotton, so it has a little bit of a silk look to it. It's
I
just
love
a
a
little
polished cotton.
Polished cotton.
Get a little
there.
shine
Yeah,
to it.
yes,
I love that.
Yeah. I love to dress up. I always have. And even as a kid, I love to dress up. A suit for a man is the easiest thing in the world to put on.
Yeah.
You have a signature look yourself. When did you find your signature look?
I think you're referring to the hat.
The hat, exactly.
Because that's it. That's my signature look. In my second marriage, which was a long marriage, so a long time ago, I would be writing 8 hours a day or more, and I had a habit of picking my scalp. And there'd be a scab I'd pick off, and Anyway, my wife walked in one day and threw a little boating hat on my head and said, "Don't take this off." And I liked it.
Yeah.
And that could have been 50-some years ago.
Yeah. Well, you were married to Francis Lear for how long?
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
It was when
And
you,
I'm approaching 30 years now with Lynn Lear.
Wow.
that's amazing.
Beautiful.
When you divorced Francis Lear, everyone was really shocked because you think you've been together for that long, you'd figure, oh, to hell with it.
Stick it out.
Let's just stick it out. Did you consider sticking it out?
Yes, it was she who divorced me
Oh.
because she wanted to live in New York and I didn't want to go to New York, and I was ready for the divorce. I wasn't going to divorce her.
Right. Well, it was also one of the most expensive divorces in the history.
Oh
of
my God, you
divorces.
remember that headline?
I remember.
He remembers everything.
It was a crazy amount. I'm going to be.
Oh, it's not a crazy amount in
Not
anybody's book today.
Today.
There was an article a couple of days ago about a few billionaire divorces.
Yeah, but I think yours was $120 million.
Ooh, that's still a lot of money, Norman.
Oh, I didn't say it wasn't a lot of money.
Well, but after they said it's going to be $120 million, did you say, maybe we should reconsider?
Maybe we can work this out. Oh my God!
I wouldn't have remembered that figure, but I do remember there was a headline because I remember saying, maybe I worked this hard for this many years to avoid this, but I remember saying at the time, when I die, that's going to be my
Your obituary.
epitaph?
Headline of my obituary.
Yeah, spent
Because they were calling it the biggest.
At the time it was. And for many years it
could have
was. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, and she went on to start a magazine with her. Do you remember Lear's magazine?
No, but I remember her being a pretty big feminist and had
Yes.
that whole women's rights movement, which is great, which
Yeah,
I would
she's great.
assume had a lot of input into All in the Family in those moments of, that's what I would assume. I could be wrong.
She
to assume.
says that Maude was based on her. But
Is that?
was it?
No. You look at B. Arthur.
Yeah.
You couldn't do a character that wasn't with
Strong,
her, with
yeah,
that woman.
yeah.
It wasn't based on that woman.
Yeah. Years ago, I figured out that B. Arthur was doing Jack Benny. Her takes to camera, she's doing Jack Benny.
That's funny.
Did you know Jack Benny?
I did know Jack Benny, but not all that well.
Yeah.
We did a special with him, Bud Yorkin and I.
Bud Yorkin.
That was the
Bud
partner.
Yorkin.
That was
forever.
the partner. Remember, we'd see the sign
Bud
at the end
Yorkin,
of the credits.
Norman Lear.
Yeah.
What's Happening was you too, wasn't it?
I'm sorry?
What's Happening?
The TV show.
What's
wasn't-
happening? That followed.
Yeah.
It was our company,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because the company was called, was it Tandem?
Tandem TAT.
Yes.
You know what TAT stood for? I'm asking the Jewish woman, Michelle.
No.
here.
Wait. Shit. It was 3
Well,
Yiddish
that's close.
words. It was close. It was
Tuchus auf den
tuchus.
Tisch.
Okay, there you go.
Ass on the table.
So TNT stood for what?
For ass on, put your ass on the table.
Tuchus.
Tuchus auf den Tisch.
Tuchus affen Tisch.
My goodness. Now, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so you are known for thinking outside the box. You are known for openness and human rights. You started an organization. What's the name of the organization? People for the
American Way.
People for the American Way. Where did that come from? Where did your openness and your ability to see humans as open, loving human beings, where does that come from? Your mom, your dad? How did that happen? Because it's rare. Most people are closed down or shut down.
I know you. My head is crowded with answers. I don't know where that specific comes from. When you started the question, I was thinking about one answer. I was born liking people.
Yeah.
And listening because I liked, and observing because I cared. I remember, speaking of observing, as a kid, 16 or so, I sold good humors. I made some money on the side with newspapers or whatever. But when I could afford it, I was allowed to go to New York to see a matinee and then come home by train. And I remember the train slipping into 125th Street. And I would sit on the left-hand side because the tenements were there, and they felt like you could reach out and touch people on a fire escape, and they're largely black families. And but I was so interested in those people that I would see. I don't know. I just came away with some. I remember thinking, I wonder, she's got a bureau in there with a drawer and precious things in that drawer. I wonder what's in. Wonder what she finds precious in what drawer. Edith Bunker later was that way because I wrote certain things for her that came out of that experience.
Yeah.
She would look at a photograph that somebody brought from Rome or something on a trip, and she'd say, "Oh, that woman, I wonder as soon as they snapped that, was she going to pick up her kid at school? Was she, the equivalent of, I wonder where she kept her precious things."
Sure. So that empathy was just always there for you, being able to transfer your feelings onto someone else or just wonder about what they were feeling.
Yeah, and we all walk in, as they say, on the shoulders of others. The people I read cared. If you read Emerson's Self-Reliance, for example, the things that influenced me were people who cared and stories about people who cared.
I wonder, especially today, with what's going on today, is that something that is cultivated, or is it a trend, or is it something people are actually born with? That ability to empathize and to put themselves in another's place.
I think we're all born with it. Maybe my life caused that to be an accent in my life. I don't know. I have to be far enough away to get the objective look at it. But I think we're all born with that capacity. Certainly we're born with the capacity to love one another better than we do.
Amen.
Then what goes wrong in your opinion? How does something like the Trump movement happen? How does it, where people can say these things come out of their mouths, and they are not aware of how hateful and mean-spirited it is? How does that happen?
Well, I remember thinking when there were 17 people running for the job Donald Trump has now, not one of them ever invoked the memory of Dwight David Eisenhower. I've served in World War II. He was the 5-star general that led us through that war. Then he became the 2-term Republican president. But when he left office, he, in his famous now farewell address, warned us about what he called a military-industrial complex. And in his first draft of that speech, which lives in his library, he called it the military-industrial congressional complex. And I think it's choking us to death now. Corporate America, it just runs us, owns us. And it's a congressional military-industrial complex that has us in its claws. God, I think the fact that nobody mentions his name ever on the Republican side is just awesome. But I think there has to be a reason, and looking for that reason, I think it's that farewell address. Beware of this, and this has got us now.
Well, it's about power now for them, isn't it? It's nothing except we want to win on that side, on the Republican side. They've forgotten about, now it's down to Republicans are money and Democrats are humanity. It shouldn't be that black and white, but that's what it comes down to. It's frightening.
That's the way it seems from the left. It looks, the other way from the right, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
But watching your documentary, which is so brilliant.
What's the title, Michelle?
I don't even know what it's called. I know it's Norman Lear. It says his name in the title,
The title is My Bumper Sticker,
which is
just another version of you.
Yes.
Just another version of you.
Yes.
That's it. And where'd you see it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. It has his name. It's if you look up Norman Lear, it'll come up. But something that dawned on me that I wasn't aware
No,
of.
it was PBS, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's on Netflix now too.
Yes.
Yeah. You can see it on PBS.org too.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a moment that
I just want to say 2 women, Rachel Grady and Heidi Ewing, made that film.
it's
They're the
brilliant.
directors of
And
the
they
film.
earn 100% of the credit.
And
for
it's
that.
very well done. There's a lot of documentaries you watch. I'm like, where are they going with this? Like the Amy Winehouse one, I didn't love. This one was done so well. But the point is, there was one point in it where you were fighting this reverend. It'd be like Falwell, but it wasn't Falwell. Like Robeson or something. His name was something like
You had it, Robeson.
Yeah, Robeson, who was basically saying
Pat Robertson.
No,
Robeson.
Robeson.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's what I mean. It was not a name I was familiar with, like those guys.
Yeah.
But he was fighting, this conservative right wingers, right?
Yeah.
Onward Christian soldier people. But they were talking about pedophiles and rapists and murderers, and then said liberals in the same breath as pedophiles, murderers, and rapists.
Right.
And that compiled with the hate that I get being a liberal today from this past, this current election of what we went through. I've never in my life felt that I was that negatively looked upon
Right.
until this election. Like I never knew that liberal was a bad word.
Well, they've had to do that. They've had to do that to demonize the other. The only way they can make themselves right is that it's us against them, and you, unfortunately, are them.
I am them, but it was like
I share your politics, I'm sure, but I think of myself as a bleeding heart conservative.
okay, go ahead.
And the reason I think of myself as a conservative is you will not fool with my Bill of Rights, my Declaration of Independence,
Which you bought at
my
one point.
guarantees that we all enjoy the same equality under the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't run as fast as each other. We're not as good looking as one another. We're not, we have all the things that make us special. But under the law, we have equal opportunity, equal justice. I love my America that guarantees that. And, well, I would die tomorrow for that.
Absolutely.
And he had bought the I hate to say bought, but he had the Declaration of Independence in his possession.
Yeah.
And toured with it for people to see.
I love
mean,
it.
it's the Declaration of Independence.
Well, that's the way I felt about it when I saw it at Sotheby's.
Yeah, why was it at Sotheby's?
Because they were auctioning off a copy. It was called the Dunlap Broadside. They were the copies that were printed the night of July 4th, 1776. So I thought of it as not the signed copy, but it took months to get the copy signed.
Yeah.
This was printed the night of, and I thought, my God, that's my country's birth certificate.
Yeah.
That night it was printed. And it was among the couple of hundred they might have printed and sent by horseback around the 13 colonies and read aloud in the town squares and so forth. There were 25 in the world, 26, and this was the only one that was available, free. That was not free.
That was not in a museum or something
not,
like that.
Not already in a museum.
Do you still have it?
No, my family foundation was suffering, and I had finished the 50 states that I promised I would get to, and so Sotheby's sold it again for me.
We got Norman Lear. We're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back after this. Michelle, I'm in love. I'm in love with an app. Is that weird?
No.
It's strange because I just came out as a theater queen.
Yeah, so you like to tap that ass.
I like to. You know what?
That app.
You know what app it is?
Yes, Today Ticks.
Today Ticks. It has made my life so much easier. You know what happened is I was in New York working. George was with me, and at the last minute we thought, oh, you know what? We should go see a show. We hadn't planned on anything.
Right.
So I last minute I got on my Today Ticks app,
Yeah.
and I saw that Significant Other, which I'd always been reading about, it was about to close the next day. got on that.
shut up.
Yes, got on that app and went to see that show. Michelle, I loved it so much, and Today Ticks made it so easy. I got to just side note to that. George is not. He'll sit through a musical. He's not really a play person. He gets bored.
Right.
He loved this show so
Really?
much. Yeah, and the fact that we got to get those tickets at the last minute
That's
like
it.
that,
Yep.
at a reduced price,
Yep.
it was amazing.
You guys, that's what's so great about Today Ticks. It's Today, Tix, by the way. Download the app. You can go to their website, which is todaytix.com, but it's so much easier with the app, in my opinion, for all, Android and iOS, all the other things. But the bottom line is you go on there. I've done that. So that's how I found it. So many times where I just go on, I go, you know what? I want to see a show.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. I'm going to go on Today Ticks. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Buy my ticket. And you can get tickets up to 50% off.
That is really, really brilliant. And they've got a little great deal going for our listeners, which is fabulous.
Today Ticks is going to offer you $20 off your first purchase with the offer code RU. So download the Today Ticks app for free on iOS and Android, Today TIX, or you can go to their website, see what's playing this week. And by the way, you guys, when we say playing this week, you might be going, I don't live in New York.
Right.
London, San Francisco, LA, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Seattle, Philly, and more cities coming.
Yeah. I mean, this really is a great app, Michelle. I'm no joke. I really love this app. I think everybody should have it.
No, for real, you guys. This is not just because you heard how this came in. We talked about this.
Yeah.
This is how the ad came to be.
Michelle stumbled upon the
Yep.
app,
Yep.
and we talked about it right here on this podcast. And then they approached us afterwards.
Yeah.
Because we were already
Sold.
customers. Yeah,
we
sold.
really love it. $20 off your first purchase with the offer code RU. Today Ticks, you guys. It'll change your life.
We are back with Norman Lear. So many shows, All in the Family, Good Times, Sanford and Son. It goes on and really define the 70s television storyline. I'm interested, though. I remember at one point for Good Times, the two lead actors, under pressure from some groups that felt that the JJ did not represent black men the way that they felt black men should be represented. The show was huge show. So of course, certain groups pinpointed that they felt that they needed to change the way JJ was portrayed. And the two lead actors, Esther Roll and John Amos, left the show. They eventually both came back. But walk me through.
They didn't make it easy for him.
Esther never left the show.
Esther never left the show. Just John Amos left it.
And John, and we had written an episode that killed the character,
Right.
and so that we all agreed in a handshake that he would be gone.
Yeah. So walk me through how was that resolved with the groups that brought that up? What are your feelings about that?
Well, we had a meeting one day, and
The NAACP?
Huh?
Was it the NAACP? Was that who called out?
He talks about in the
No.
documentary.
It was the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they were angry that, and they were very helpful. This little bit of anger helped steering us to the idea that became the Jeffersons, because they said, why does the only black guy and the only black man, family man, have to hold down 3 jobs when there are so many black men that are doing better? Why does he have to be the model on television? So we were thinking about the Jeffersons, and that caused us to have the George Jefferson sell his cleaning and dyeing, or otherwise make it a big success.
Yeah.
So they could move on up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In Janae Dubois' lyric.
Yes. Brilliant. Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, Russell Simmons is interviewed in the documentary, and he says Good Times was for the white man. That was for the white people.
Uh-huh.
Now, the Jeffersons was a black television show. That's what Russell says.
Yeah.
It's amazing because
And do you remember? Excuse me, I forget what it was. Oh, it's something. He's looking at an episode of the Jeffersons.
He watched the episode of Jeffersons.
And he laughed.
Died.
If I lived to be 1,000 years, and I'd like to, I would never forget his laugh.
Yeah.
Russell Simmons'
right
laugh?
up.
It was the episode where he said, about the Tom and Lenny Kravitz's mother, Roxy Roker, that when they broke up, or in a time that they're going to fight, he goes, you know what he's going to call her, and everybody's sitting back watching. He goes, he's going to call her, and she's like, George, and then he said the word, and Russell goes, ah, like it's that moment. Everybody at home was like, The N-word was said on television.
Yeah, no, it used to be Sanford and Son. They used it on Sanford and Son a lot of the times. It's interesting, I'm sure you've been up against this a lot, where groups will come to you and say, you've got to change your artistic outlook because we feel that this show should represent our artistic outlook. What do you say to those people? It's a sitcom, for crying out loud. How is a sitcom supposed to represent a vast group of people? What do you say to that?
I feel I do what I think is right, and just disregard it. I mean, you are accepting advice and rejecting advice all the time as you make decisions to do this, that, or the other thing. So, Jared and I, Carmichael, I think the world of him. He and I did a podcast together. We did an hour talking together, and we used the N-word, and we invited the audience to know. We said we're going to do it in 5 minutes, and we invited the audience to ask their friends to come if they wanted to hear the N-word. But as we were doing that, and as I'm repeating that story now, I'm thinking, isn't it a shame that America can't talk about its problems?
Right.
That's
the problem.
That is the problem. We should be able to talk about that openly, frankly, and
this new wave of over political correctness where everything becomes cultural appropriation instead of an homage or whatever the situation may be. This over political correctness. Remember when PC started in the 80s?
Yeah.
And it was like no big deal, but it was like, oh, you got to be PC. But now this over political correctness stifles us. It's a censorship that's happening in everyday life, not just on television.
Right.
Our I don't even want to say it, but that's leading the country is a prime example. It's like what's good for the goose is good for the gander type of situation, only we're not allowed to do it. And if we are, we're judged and lose jobs, like Kathy Griffin. And it's just so harsh. It
is very harsh. But, that's the thing is the difference now is that I don't know if they would do those campaigns with advertisers where they would boycott a show back then in the 70s and actually get to change the content of the show. Did that ever happen with any of your shows where they would have a boycott campaign or advertisers were forced to withdraw from the show?
I don't think so. I don't think so either. That was always a fear, but
and you hit every subject there is. There's not one you left out.
Well, we didn't do incest.
Well, thank God. Nobody needs to see that.
Right.
But you did abortion. You did interracial relationships, and hearing you now and getting to know you.
You mentioned Roxy Roker's name. I love this little anecdote. When I cast her, I said to her, you're married to a white guy. You're going to kiss in the course of this series, and you're going to kiss on the mouth. You're not going to avoid kissing each other. And if we ever have a scene in your bedroom, you're going to be sleeping together. We haven't seen this before, so I don't know the reaction. I just want you to know that you're going to be on this sensitive ground. Mm-hmm. And she said, "Let me answer your question this way." She reached into her purse and she picked out a photograph of herself and her husband, Lenny. Uh-huh. Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah. I love it.
She knew. Yeah.
No,
she was ready.
She was a fantastic.
I loved her.
Fantastic actor, great show. Was there ever thought of spinning off Florence, the maid on the Jeffersons, for her own show, Florence?
We did, Room 222.
All right.
Wait a minute.
222.
222.
Oh, 227. Was that your show also?
222 is a different show.
It's a different show.
227, yeah.
227 is...
Yeah, that was a tandem TAT show.
Oh, my goodness. Ooh. Oh, my goodness.
She's a wonderful woman. I love her.
Marla Gibbs.
And we're going to go to break real quick, but are there any shows that you can think of that you did that actually spin-offs that never happened? Were there spin-offs that were planned from either Good Times or from there were so many from All in the Family. Michelle, there was Archie Bunker's Place.
That came after Edith died.
Yeah, but there was another Archie Bunker series.
Derivative? No.
Well, there's the Archie Bunker's Place. I
All
thought
the Family Maud, the Jeffersons, Good Times, Sanford and Son, Archie Bunker's
didn't
Place
Gloria?
came after.
Gloria had a show. Gloria.
But we didn't do it. I didn't do it.
How does that work? If you didn't do it, you own Gloria.
The Facts of Life.
Was that a tandem show?
That was our show, yeah.
Oh my god!
And so was Different Strokes, wasn't it?
Different Strokes was too.
Oh my god! We've got Norman
goes
Lear
on and
here.
on.
It goes on and on. We got Norman Lear here. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Oh.
Okay, let's talk about AdamandEve.com,
Let's
Michelle.
do, honey.
Sexy, sexy, sexy.
Listen, you've been with your husband
A husband.
for 23 years.
23 years.
I've been with my husband for 20 years. And that's beautiful. We're lucky. We're blessed. But sometimes the same old ain't cutting it.
You know what I'm saying? You need to add a little something extra up in there to make it spice
Some
up your life.
spices?
What the Spice Girls say?
Spice up your life. Everybody in the world. Every boy and every girl.
Well, that's where Adam and Eve comes in. AdamandEve.com is your one-stop shopping for everything that's spicy and luscious and sexy in your life.
I have to tell you, including that stuff into our lovemaking
Uh-huh.
literally took it to the next phase.
Oh, my God. I'm scared
It
of you,
really,
girl.
really did. And I have to tell you, I know a lot of people are really self-conscious going, my husband wouldn't like that, my wife. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Just do.
Yeah.
And then when it comes up in the middle of a conversation or you're doing your thing, you say, I want
Uh-huh.
to try something. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be open to it. Be like, what? Oh my God, what are you going to do?
I like that slogan, don't ask, just do.
Yeah, that's really bad.
That's-
It's like encouraging that. That's the opposite of no means no. But you know what I'm saying? You're with a safe word. You're in
Yes.
your safety zone there. But I have to tell you, when my husband first brought it up, I was like, really? Am I not performing? He's like, no, this is just going to bring it to the next level. And let me tell you, it is the best decision we ever made together.
You're right. Variety is the spice of life. And that's why you want to go to AdamandEve.com. We got a little offer code going, RU, for a little extra sum. Tell them what they get for extra.
Well, listen to this, you guys. If you go to AdamandEve.com, for a limited time only, you're going to get 50% off just about any item. Not kidding. And when you select your one item at 50% off, you're also going to get a free mystery gift,
Ooh.
which, of course, it's a mystery, so we don't know what it is.
But Jessica Fletcher, I bet, knows what it is.
Jessica Felcher knows
Oh.
what it is. But it's so sensual, we can't even mention it on the podcast. To top it all off, they'll even throw in free shipping on your entire order. We are not kidding you guys. I'm telling you, there is nothing more exciting than to be able to kind of find new territory with the love of your life.
That's right. And it's like Star Trek. We're name checking everybody.
Yes, honey.
Yeah, it's finding vast new worlds.
Yes.
of your-
Uhuru ain't got nothing on me, bitch. Check out AdamandEve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type in the offer code RU, of course, upon checkout. That's AdamandEve.com, offer code RU. But I didn't realize to today that I know. Well, hang on.
We've got. Well, we can say this on the air.
okay.
We've got Norman Lee here. We figured out what the B. Arthur show between Maude and Golden Girls. She did Amanda's by the Sea, which you're
Yes.
saying was a
What?
takeoff on.
No. What I was saying was I didn't realize that All in the Family was based on Till Death Us Do Part.
Right
From
in
the
English.
UK.
Yes.
UK.
Yeah. In English.
He's
show.
got great taste, that Norman Lear. I tell
Well,
you.
and then of course Sanford and Son was based on Steptoe and
Yes.
Son.
Also British. Yeah.
Yes.
Was that the thing? Is to sort of take British shows? Did you always look to British?
No, there
television?
was everything comes down to small. The world depends on behavior.
Yeah.
There was a woman by the name of Beryl Virtue. She was an agent. She thought that the antecedents to All in the Family, Till Death Us Do Part, would make that we'd love it in America.
Yeah.
She came and Bud York and my partner was overseas and saw it. And I called Beryl Virtue when he told me about it because my father used to call me the laziest white kid he ever met. So I would tell him, argue, scream at him. He was putting down a whole race of people just to call me lazy. And that's not what I'm doing, and you're the dumbest white kid I ever met. So when I heard about Till Death Us Do Part, I related to it. I lived with that.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to do it. At the same time, I was being divorced with one kid. My friend Phil Sharp was being divorced with 4 kids. And when he told me all his wife wanted was his Joan Davis reruns, remember the Joan Davis
Yes.
show?
Yeah.
I
I
was
Married
having
Joan?
such-
I Married Joan?
I Married Joan.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I Married Joan.
Yeah.
And all she wanted was those. I said, I've got to do a situation comedy.
Wow.
Within days, Bud was on the phone about this show, Till Death Us Do Part. I was thinking about my father.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the show.
Did you
Brilliant.
know Carol O'Connor before the audition?
No.
And when he walked in, tell us about that.
One of the great, I love the theater, and this is as miraculous a reason as why that I do. I had read 30 guys it started in the East. I'm trying to remember the name of the great woman who was my casting agent, Marion Doherty. And I had seen a bunch of guys, and I was coming west. And that first morning, Carol O'Connor walked in, sat down opposite me, read the first page.
Sold.
And I had Archie Bunker.
Mm.
Could I have guessed what he would bring to it?
Mm.
Not in a million years.
Mm.
So I've always viewed it as kind of miraculous that a guy could come in and wrap himself in the same words that 30 other good actors did, and suddenly
It's magic.
he's no longer Carol O'Connor. I'm no longer the Norman Lear that existed 3 minutes before I heard him. He's changed my life forever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
He was a special actor, that guy.
oh my God, what he brought to it. And he told me that he was thinking of a cab driver that he knew in New York. And that's where he drew some of what he needed for that role.
Wow. Now you talked about something earlier about your father and the laziest kid in the
White kid.
Yeah, but I'm interested to know that you've been so successful on the business side of show business. You're a creative person. You're a writer. You can imagine these incredible, brilliant pieces of art. How were you able to do the business side? What is it in your?
I was just smart enough to understand that I needed, in order to succeed that way, business-wise, I needed a partner.
Yeah.
I needed somebody who could handle that because I couldn't. And I am remembering my 30-some-year partner who passed just a few weeks ago, Jerry Perenchio,
Mm-hmm.
who was one of the great men of the Western world. And he was a young agent, and when I needed some help, and his boss, Lou Wasserman, assigned him to do something that involved Bud Yorkin and me, and he did it. He was so great doing it, and we became good friends. And it took me 2 years to get him to come, pressuring him to come run our company.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And eventually he and I bought out Bud.
Mm-hmm.
Bud wanted to do something else. We bought him out. And so it just became the two of us.
Yeah.
But he was the one responsible for all the business success.
Wow.
But then you went on to produce some huge films after television. I know Princess Bride was your production company, correct?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't my production company. I caused it to be made because I wanted it made. Creatively, I had absolutely nothing to do with Princess Bride, Stand By Me. They were Rob's first films. I adored Rob. I adored the material he brought me. Nobody else wanted to do it, and we were the first producers that made it possible.
Of course, Rob Reiner was a star of All in
Meathead.
the Family. Were you friends with his father before that, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like my oldest daughter and Rob are virtually the same age.
Uh-huh.
And Carl and I met when his son was 6, and I was the first one to tell Carl his son was funny at 6.
We're talking about Paul Reiner.
Because I
of
saw
course.
him teaching my daughter how to play jacks. They're both on the floor, bouncing the ball and picking up jacks. But his sound was, that's not the way you got to do the. And he sounded like every Jew comic that his father was friendly with.
But it sounds to me now, sitting here getting to talk to you, that Meathead had a lot of you in him. You, Norman. The character of
he
Meathead.
did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
But Rob as a person went way beyond Meathead, because Meathead only went so far in understanding
Right.
what he felt viscerally was truth for him. Rob is a real student and knows what the hell he's talking about every step of the way.
He's brilliant.
Brilliant. I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah,
I
he's
love.
brilliant.
He goes in deep.
Yes, he does.
Which is great.
And I retweet all of it.
Yeah, me
Just
too.
Retweet.
Yeah. Now, I grew up watching television sitcoms and stuff in the 60s and 70s, and I understood even then that the humor I was listening to had been born in the sort of Borscht Belt humor.
Yes.
So if a joke is told in the right cadence, I'm programmed to laugh at it no matter what. What's your relationship to that sort of Borscht Belt wave of comics and writers who came out west to do television? Did you start in stand up?
Oh no.
No.
No. I never did stand up. I was influenced by those Borscht Belt comics, especially as they appeared in burlesque. And I went to Emerson College in Boston for a year before the war, and there was there was a place called Scully Square
In Boston?
When I was the square doesn't exist, let alone the theater. The old Howard, it was a premium burlesque house, and I learned the year I was there, because I never missed going there every week of my life there. And the comic and the straight man and the stripper, too, just fascinated me as metaphors for our society. I came to understanding this much later, but it was dawning on me the year that I was there. The straight man knew everything. Or you think of Abbott and Costello, that would be the handiest metaphor. Abbott knew everything. But knowing everything and ordering the comic around the head and bumping into walls. That's the way I think of our culture now. We, the American people, are the comics. And the straight men of our world, the establishment, have us bumping into walls.
Right.
That metaphor is so apt in my mind. I think about that all the time.
How do we get out of this mess, though? We talk about bumping into walls. We're perpetually bumping into a wall right now, especially with corporate America. Understand the way corporate America has us as puppets, really. Even our thoughts that are not very original thoughts, they come from them. What is the way out of this? How do you see us getting out of this?
We have to pay attention to our citizenship and vote, and know that it's meaningful. That it is meaningful.
And the 3 million people who voted for Hillary, who feel like their vote doesn't count,
Right.
Because at the end of the day, she won.
Right.
That's some bullshit.
Your organization, actually, People for the Ethical Way of Life, People for the American. I get it mixed
You've
up.
been making them PETA.
Yeah. What is it again?
People for the American Way.
People for the American Way. It's very involved in voter registration. And
it
things.
is.
Well, is
You asked me earlier, if I can interrupt. You asked me earlier, how did it happen?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't answer it. I didn't wake up any morning of my life and decide I'm going to start an organization. What happened was I was watching, you were talking about earlier, the evangelical movement growing on television.
The right.
And mixing politics and religion.
Yeah.
And I thought that's anathema to what I think of the American way. So I did what I knew to do. I did a 60-second PSA, public service announcement. And it had a guy on a piece of heavy equipment in a factory saying that he and his wife disagree about politics all the time. And his kids, who are grown and have points of view, feel differently about things. But ministers in the mail and on television think he's right. And therefore he's a better Christian. He winds up saying, because he knows his wife is a better Christian than he is. And he winds up saying, something's got to be wrong when anybody tells you you're a good or a bad Christian, depending on your political point of view.
Yes.
That's
yes.
not the American way.
It is right now.
I took it to Father Hesburgh in Notre Dame because I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at it. He said, I'll never forget what he said. He said, Norman, he said, I'm going to give you the names of some other mainline church leaders you can show this to. I think they'll all be interested in helping. He said, but in addition to what you're concerned with, we have another concern that you may not think of. I said, what's that? He said, the way they, meaning the evangelicals, the way they torture Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Torture Scripture. I just love that.
Brilliant. And people listening now can get involved with the with your organization.
People for the American way.
Thank you, Michelle. Remember that for me because I have a problem with that. Say it again, Michelle.
People for the American way.
Yes.
People for the American way. How can they get involved with this organization?
They can go to it on the net. Just Google it. People for the American Way. You'll find a tremendous amount of material.
Because
especially what they call right-wing watch.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Alex Jones was made. Not Alex Jones. What's his name? The guy that making.
Yeah, it's Alex Jones.
Is it Jones?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People for the American Way and Right Wing Watch has known about him, written about him for years.
Yes. So, because isn't the solution really if you get a driver's license, you should be able to vote. Like, if you have a driver's license, you should automatically be, and you should actually be required. In some countries, it's against the law
to register to vote.
To not vote. Yeah.
Not here. It's pfaw.org, People for the American Way. So PFAW.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Norman Lear, it's been amazing. I could talk to you forever. I know I'm going to do your podcast soon.
Oh, I'm so glad to
that'll
know
be
that.
fun. You are just an American treasure. You're a worldwide treasure.
Thank you.
You changed lives.
Yes.
We never got to talk. Well, we'll talk about you when we do.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Because there's so much to talk about too.
Well, we both of us, you've been around for a long time. I've been around for a long time. I've been very lucky, I've been very lucky with all of this. So, well, Michelle, I know.
This has been unbelievable. A moment I'll never forget.
I know, me too. I'm
Honestly,
loving it.
I wish my mother was here to see it.
Exactly.
I wish your mother was here.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Norman Lear.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I will see you soon.
As I said earlier and again, it took every second of my life to get here.
This
and
moment
it was
right here.
so worth it.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Good. And Michelle Visage, I will see you next time.
You will, darling.
Right here in the same spot.
As always.
Until then, bye.
Can I get an amen? If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes.
If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Amen.